Hello, everyone. You're very welcome to this very brief talk on meeting your supervisor online and how to deal with that and how to do it. So, meeting your supervisor online is almost exactly the same as meeting them in person, but there's just a few little things I want you to think about. First and most obvious thing is check your tech, so check your hardware and your software. Make sure your camera is working, your webcam. If you want a visual, make sure your microphone and speakers are working. So with a lot of this communication software like Skype, it allows you to test the functionality. It'll allow you to speak in, and it'll do a playback for you. Just to make sure it's working. And I would check the software in general. Check how the mute button works, or if you want to turn off video, or if you want to pause, or whatever other features it has. Download it and play with it before you have a meeting with your supervisor. It'd be my advice. If possible, to find a quiet spot to communicate with your supervisor. Sometimes it's not always possible. Sometimes you have to do meetings in internet cafes, and it's perfectly understandable. It's fine. But if you can find a quiet corner of the internet cafe or Starbucks or whatever it is, it's absolutely fine. But definitely, if you can preview your screen to see what your supervisor can see, make sure there's no reflection of glaring sunlight or something shining into the camera, because that's very uncomfortable to look at. Make sure you're on time and make sure you're timely in terms of giving your supervisor any documents you want to review. So if let's say you want to give them a section of a chapter, make sure you've given that to them at least an hour before the meeting so they can have a look at it, so they can give you some proper preliminary feedback about it. And I would log into the system at least 5 minutes before the meeting, because sometimes logging in can just take a while. God knows I've often gone onto Skype meetings and wondered what my password was for a few minutes. So it's always a good idea to sort that out. Have a pen and paper for sure at the ready. That's always a good idea if possible, because you want to write stuff down. You might be thinking of questions as your supervisor is speaking. Whatever it is, just to have a pen and paper. And equally as well, if there's a document that you want to discuss, have it printed out beside you, or have it on your computer open already, so you can open it and you don't have to be faffing around. I would definitely, when I'm doing online stuff, have a list of questions already that I know I want to ask my supervisor, just because I can push the conversation and get most value through this process if I know exactly what I need to get from my supervisor. And definitely, in terms of questions, listen to what your supervisor says. Give them a minute to finish off. Don't respond immediately. And then, if they ask you any questions, take your time and just think about it for a second or two before you respond. In terms of the technology, sometimes, and I'm sure we'll hear it now, the audio will fade in and out, or there might be a small time delay, or some syllables might get lost. So if you speak reasonably slowly and reasonably clearly, that can help sometimes. And again, same point again, listen and make sure your supervisor is finished before you talk. 'Cause sometimes people cut over each other online. And I don't know, I like the way walkie-talkies, when you finish your message, you go over, and then at the end of the conversation, you go over and out. That's a nice idea, I think, personally. Have a sensible username or display name. I only say this because I had a student I supervised who had a quite rude display name, and I thought, that's an interesting thing to be showing me. And definitely, if you can at all possible, try and look into the webcam instead of looking at the screen. If you're looking at the screen, to your supervisor, it looks like you're looking at their chin. Whereas if you can look into the webcam, it looks like you're looking at their face or looking in their eyes. So just in terms of faking sincerity, it's a good idea to occasionally look into the webcam. So thanks very much. I hope this was useful. We'll talk to you again soon.